Red Line Logbook here for Wistoria Chapter 16, and we start off with Thawne and Julius. And the two of them are just arguing about water. Thawne says it's a precious resource, and so Julius just used his ice to just turn it into water and then drink that. And Julius' response is, magic is also a precious resource, even more important when they're stuck in the dungeon like this. It's basically just a pointless argument. They've been stuck with each other for hours, fighting non-stop. They're clearly just exhausted and need something to argue about. That's when Thawne cuts off the argument and says something's coming. But Julius is like, I just used my search magic. And Thawne's response is, yeah, well, it doesn't work on devils. And then just an entire group of evil sentinels appear. Julius calmly thinks to himself, okay, there's no way we can take on 4 evil sentinels at once, especially since the fact that there shouldn't even be this many spawning at once anyway. This is just an irregular. A smart move would be to get out of there and find a way to escape. He tries telling that to Thawne, but Thawne is like, no. Thawne is because these guys are reminding him of that one time he was saved by Will, by an evil sentinel, the moment in time that made him hate himself more than ever. Feel ungodly levels of humiliation. And so Thawne decides to unilaterally just to kill them all. He summons his guardian, and the fight begins. Professor Edward and Wilkins are able to make it all the way to the 8th camp and save all the students who are also being attacked by an army of evil sentinels. Professor Edward just summons a spell that just guillotines all of them. Not gonna lie, it's pretty badass. But he basically orders everyone to evacuate to the 6th floor camp and wait there. He then jumps onto Professor Wilkins' dragon, and the two of them fly off. Yeah, that's right. The man is flying on a dragon in narrow cabin ways. That's pretty impressive, especially at the speed that they're going. I mean, that's like Jedi levels of maneuverability. Wilkins then informs Edward that they've already saved all the students except for one group, Leanna's. Professor Edward assumes that they probably just went down to kill the final boss on the 10th floor, but Kiki, the carbuncle that Will carries around, is actually a familiar given to him by Wilkins, and Wilkins is actually able to see through the crystal on its head, and so he knows that they're actually on the 11th floor. Not just that, but he also knows that everything that Kiki has seen, basically Wilkins has seen. So he knows about that giant monster. We then go over to Clennett and Liana's team. The two of them are still wandering about. Clennett realizes that Liana is actually getting exhausted, and she just blames herself for this because she's doing the majority of the fighting, and it has already been 16 hours. So Liana is just burning through her energy faster and faster, and Clennett can't really do anything to help her. All Clennett is able to do is just leave a trail behind her of breadcrumbs. Well, not literal breadcrumbs, they're crystals. Liana then actually apologizes to Clennett, which surprises her, because Liana feels guilty that she even dragged everyone around to take on the final boss and just led them to the situation. But Clennett, once again, also feels guilty, says, no, this isn't your fault. It's that monster's fault that we're in this situation. If that thing didn't exist, then none of this would be a problem. That's when footsteps start coming towards them, and Clennett gets all excited because she assumes this means her friends are here to help her. We then skip over to Will and Thogner, and Thogner is able to sense magical power, so they rush towards it. And what they discover is Thawne standing on top of the 4 corpses of the sentinels. And Yagner is like, wait, did he do this all by himself? Yagner is completely stunned and surprised that Thawne could even do this, or anyone could do this who's a student. That's when Julius kicks one of the sentinels off of him, stands up, says, I also helped. Apparently, they tag teamed it. The way they did it was Thawne unleashed ungodly levels of firepower, and Julius created the clones so they could absorb attacks as a distraction. Will, of course, is impressed that Thawne was able to do all that, compliments him. Thawne is half-heartedly happy that he's alive. That's when they all realize that Clennett and Liana aren't there, which means they also were separated. And so the first thing they do is immediately start rushing to find them. So back with Clennett's group, the individual walking towards them was Headless, wearing Professor Bruno's head. And as you can imagine, Bruno's head just falls off. Headless is then very precise and deliberate in the way he moves. He bows to them, he greets them kindly with his little spelling words. Honestly, this gives me Jack the Ripper vibes from Reckon of Ragnarok. A gentleman in name only, but in reality a psychopath. That's when we get the name of the knife guy. It's Marzel, and he's pissed off that the kids are still alive. And Headless then takes the second professor's head, puts it on, and he's able to talk through it. But it's the head of a corpse, and so when he's talking through it, it's just convulsing and kind of ripping itself apart just to move. And basically his response to Marler is that the Duke should have killed them. They might have survived if the Duke destroyed the floor and, dropped them down to the 11th. That isn't his fault. And Marler's response is, this wouldn't have happened if you weren't so lazy. As you can imagine, the ladies are now beginning to freak out. The fear in their faces is palpable. They start to scream, who are you people? Because they just witnessed the heads of 2 of their professors being held by a dude without a head. And the only response they get is, "We're the bad guys." Headless then smashes the head of the professor he was wearing and basically responds with, their plan is to destroy the false sky, which means their plan is to unleash all the evil on the other side of the barrier. So another group of evilists who wants to unleash hell upon the world. Not a surprise. Headless then launches an attack to cut off both the ladies' heads, but that is when the spell is destroyed by all the boys who appear from above and protect them. They were able to find them so quickly because of Kiki's nose and also Clonette leaving a bread trail. Headless then gets all excited by the fact that he gets to kill even more people. Will says he'll take the front line to hold them off, but then is immediately blasted by Headless's magic. Will only survives because he blocks it with his sword, but still, he goes flying. Headless is about to kill all of them, and it's clear that he's going to. They can't even dodge his attacks, that's how fast they are. That's when Marvel grabs him and starts dragging him away, saying it's time to go. The troublesome ones are coming, which heavily implies the teachers are coming, and he can sense it, so he wants to get out of there. And so Headless says, "Oh, too bad. Well, I guess you can still play with the Duke." And then he casts a giant summoning spell, and that's when they all realize, oh, that thing on the 10th floor, that was them. And that means that now they're going to have to fight the evil Grand Duke, a monster worth 270 points, more than double of Nerberus. Alright, if you enjoy this video, subscribe, give it a thumbs up so you can enjoy more Wistoria and other anime things. Thank you and have a great day.